28 minutes. That's how long it took Blackstone to purchase every available house in a single Phoenix subdivision last month. 28 minutes to transform an entire community from homeowners to renters. 28 minutes to delete the American dream from 200 families who thought they lived in a safe neighborhood. And they're not slowing down, they're accelerating. Right now, this exact moment, there are bidding wars happening in your area that you'll never hear about. Corporate cash offers that close in 72 hours. Entire blocks changing ownership while families are still unpacking their moving boxes. But here's the truly scary part. They're not just buying randomly anymore. They've got targeting systems that make military drones look amateur. They know which neighborhoods will gentrify in 3 years. They know which school districts will improve. They know which highways will get built. They're not following market trend. They're creating them. I've got internal emails showing exactly how they choose targets. I've got maps showing their next expansion zones. And I've got proof that they've been watching your neighborhood longer than you've been living in it. Welcome to House Artifacts, and I'm about to show you what I've found after 6 months investigating America's biggest corporate landlord. Because this isn't just about real estate anymore. It's about the future of American communities and your place in them. Let's get into it. Phoenix, Arizona, a place where retirees once flocked for golden years and young families sought affordable starts. But in 2025, something else is happening in these desert suburbs. Drive through Mesquite Village, cruise down the streets of North Gateway, look at the rows of identical stucco homes with perfect lawns and American flags, and ask yourself, does anything seem off? Everything looks normal, right? Wrong. Behind those doors, there's no family dinner table, no kids' height marks on the doorframe, no mortgage being slowly paid off by proud homeowners. These houses have corporate landlords now, and the biggest one, Blackstone's Invitation Homes, owns 32,000 single-family homes just in Phoenix Metro. That's not a neighborhood, that's an empire. The numbers are staggering. Since 2012, Blackstone has spent over $150 billion on real estate, not millions, billion. While the average American family struggles to save a $20,000 down payment, Blackstone drops that amount every 12 seconds. In Phoenix alone, home prices have exploded 140% since Blackstone started buying. Coincidence? The median home now costs $450,000. For a family making $75,000 a year, that's not just expensive, it's impossible. Jennifer Martinez saved for 15 years. 15 years of double shifts, skipped vacations, coupon cutting. She finally had enough for a down payment on a modest 3-bedroom in Chandler. She made 14 offers, lost every single one. Know who won? Corporate buyers, all cash, no inspection, no contingencies. The reality is stark. In the Phoenix metro area, 31% of homes sold in the last year went to corporate investors, not to families, not to first-time buyers, to Wall Street. In some zip codes, it's over 50%. These aren't random purchases. They're strategic acquisitions targeting specific communities with growing populations, good schools, and stable employment. The American dream isn't dead in Phoenix. It's been acquired, monetized, and rented back to the people who were supposed to own it. What was once a path to generational wealth is now a subscription service. You're not building equity anymore. You're paying rent to a corporation that bought your future out from under you. Number 9, the Southeast Stranglehold. Atlanta, Charlotte, Nashville, Raleigh. The New South, where tech workers flee California prices and families seek better lives. These metros were supposed to be different, affordable, accessible, American. But drive through suburban Atlanta today. Peachtree Corners, Alpharetta, Duluth. Notice anything strange? Every third house has the same property management sign, the same rental application process, the same corporate owner. Blackstone didn't just buy houses here. They bought entire subdivisions at foreclosure auctions and bulk purchases, like buying cereal at Costco. Except it's the American dream they're stockpiling. 28,000 units across the Southeast. That's not investment. That's colonization. The data is terrifying. In zip codes where Blackstone owns more than 3% of homes, rents have increased 47% faster than surrounding areas. They're not just following the market. They are the market. Take Charlotte's Steel Creek neighborhood. In 2018, corporate ownership was 8%. Today, it's 41%. Almost half the neighborhood doesn't belong to the people who live there anymore. It belongs to financial firms headquartered hundreds or thousands of miles away. The lease agreements tell the story. 20-page contracts with mandatory arbitration clauses, automatic renewal penalties, and maintenance responsibilities shifted to tenants. Miss a payment? That's not just late fees. That's an eviction algorithm that moves faster than the court system. Marcus Johnson, a teacher in Atlanta, saved for a decade to buy in his childhood neighborhood. By the time he qualified for a mortgage, he couldn't compete with all cash offers $50,000 above asking price. Now he rents from the company that outbid him. His monthly payment is higher than the mortgage would have been. He's building their wealth instead of his own. Number 8, the data-driven displacement. Silicon Valley, 2018. A room full of engineers and data scientists huddle around screens displaying heat maps of American neighborhoods. They're not planning a social network or a delivery app. They're building the most sophisticated property acquisition system ever created. While you were worrying about Facebook tracking your clicks, Blackstone was building an algorithm that predicts which blocks will gentrify, which school districts will improve, and which homeowners are most likely to sell. Former Blackstone analyst Derek Mitchell explains, "We had access to data nobody else had. We knew when mortgages would reset. We knew which neighborhoods were getting new grocery stores before city councils voted on them. We had satellite imagery tracking construction permits. It wasn't investing. It was harvesting." The acquisition engine doesn't just identify properties. It calculates exactly how much to offer to beat individual buyers while maintaining profit margins. It knows your maximum budget better than you do. And it never sleeps, scanning 800,000 listings daily, making decisions in milliseconds that will shape communities for generations. Internal documents show targeting criteria: neighborhoods where homeownership exceeds 70%, school districts with rising test scores, areas within 15 minutes of major employers, and zip codes with fewer than 3% rental properties. They're not looking for bargains. They're looking for stable communities they can convert to rental empires. The system is automated to the point that in targeted zones, Blackstone can analyze, offer, close, and begin rental listing in under 10 days. The fastest recorded transaction was 37 hours from listing to closing. No family can compete with that speed. This isn't the invisible hand of the market. It's algorithmic warfare against families who still believe in home ownership. You're not losing fair and square. You're losing to quantum computers and artificial intelligence designed specifically to ensure you never build equity in your community. Number 7, the rental conversion machine. Las Vegas, Miami, Tampa. Tourist destinations turned housing battlegrounds. In these markets, Blackstone doesn't just buy homes, they convert entire lifestyles. The transformation process is industrial, efficient, and ruthless. Once a home is acquired, it enters the standardization pipeline. Beige paint, basic fixtures, uniform landscaping, and most importantly, a price point calculated to the dollar by rental optimization software. Former property manager Alicia Ramirez witnessed the process firsthand. "We weren't renting homes. We were selling housing units like commodities. Every property had a code, a yield calculation, and a replacement schedule. Tenants weren't people with families. They were occupancy rates and revenue streams. The most disturbing part? The deliberate destruction of customization. Pools filled in, gardens paved over, custom kitchens gutted and replaced with standardized models. It's not about maintenance costs. It's about creating interchangeable products that can be priced, exchanged, and securitized like stocks. The numbers tell the story. In Tampa Bay, corporate-owned single-family rentals have increased 61% since 2020. Maintenance requests in these properties take an average of 14 days longer to address than an individually owned rental. Lease renewal increases average 9.4% annually versus 5.7% for independent landlords. These aren't just statistics. They're evidence of a fundamental shift in the relationship between people and housing. When your landlord is a portfolio manager in New York, your home is just a cell in a spreadsheet. Sarah Williams moved into an Invitation Homes property in Orlando after losing a bidding war for a similar house. Her first grader made the mistake of drawing on the wall with crayon. The response? A $350 remediation fee and a lease violation warning. This isn't just business. It's the corporatization of childhood itself. Number 6, the Wall Street Connection, New York, 2021. A conference room on the 43rd floor of a Manhattan skyscraper. Investment bankers are creating a new financial product, rental-backed securities. If that sounds familiar, it should. It's the same concept as the mortgage-backed securities that crashed the global economy in 2008. But this time, they're not bundling mortgages. They're bundling your rent payments. And the biggest players are all in. Blackstone doesn't just own houses. They've created an entire financial ecosystem around rental properties. They buy homes, convert them to rentals, bundle thousands of leases together, and sell bonds based on your monthly payments. Your rent check isn't going toward property maintenance. It's being sliced, diced, and sold to investors worldwide. What happens when tenants can't pay? What happens when maintenance costs rise? What happens when these rental-backed securities start to fail? We've seen this movie before, and it doesn't have a happy ending. The scale is mind-boggling. Invitation Homes alone has securitized over $3 billion in rental payment streams. Their prospectus to investors explicitly states their strategy: acquisition and conversion of owner-occupied homes to institutional quality income-producing assets. Translation: they're systematically transforming what used to be avenues for family wealth creation into permanent extraction points for Wall Street profits. And your local community is just collateral damage. The ultimate irony? If you have a 401k, you're probably invested in these securities. You're funding the very mechanism that's preventing you from buying a home. You're literally paying for the rope they're using to hang the American dream. Number 5, the political protection racket. Washington, D.C., state capitals, city councils across America. Everywhere decisions about housing are made. Corporate landlord lobbyists are there, checkbooks open. The political influence operation isn't hidden. It's brazen. While you're working 2 jobs to make rent, Blackstone executives are testifying before Congress, arguing against regulations that would limit their ability to buy up your neighborhood. Follow the money. In the last election cycle, Blackstone and other institutional landlords spent $84 million on political contributions. Their lobbyists drafted model legislation now adopted in 23 states that prohibits cities from limiting corporate purchases of single-family homes. They don't just play defense. They actively shape policy to accelerate their acquisition strategy. Tax incentives for housing development that apply primarily to large investors. Zoning changes that benefit corporate portfolio management. Foreclosure rules that give priority to bulk buyers. The return on investment is clear. For every dollar spent on lobbying, corporate landlords receive approximately $33 in tax benefits and regulatory advantages. In Georgia alone, property tax structures save Invitation Homes an estimated $148 million annually compared to individual homeowners. This isn't free market capitalism, it's regulatory capture on an unprecedented scale. The most devastating part? Your tax dollars are subsidizing your own displacement. Government programs designed to increase housing supply are being channeled directly to the same corporations that are pricing you out of homeownership. You're not just losing, you're being forced to fund the victory party. Number 4. The community destruction engine, Dallas, Texas, Creekside Meadows subdivision. 10 years ago, this was a tight-knit community where neighbors knew each other. Children played in front yards, and local schools had active parent involvement. Today, it's a corporate rental zone where the average tenancy lasts 18 months. Community events have disappeared, and school volunteer rates have plummeted 68%. This isn't an accident. It's a direct result of the institutionalization of housing. Sociologists tracking these neighborhoods report alarming trends. Voter registration drops 22% when corporate ownership exceeds 30% of homes. Crime reporting decreases 17%. Community organization membership declines 33%. These aren't just buildings changing hands. Their communities being systematically dismantled. Local businesses feel it too. When homeowners become renters, spending on home improvement drops 71%. Local hardware stores, landscapers, and contractors lose their customer base. Main Street suffers while Wall Street thrives. School performance tells the story most clearly. In neighborhoods where corporate ownership increased by more than 25%, Parent-Teacher Association membership dropped 44%. Fundraising for school programs fell 51%. Teacher retention decreased 13%. The data shows something profound. When people don't own their community, they stop investing in it, financially, emotionally, and socially. Corporate ownership doesn't just change who collects the rent, it fundamentally alters the social fabric of American neighborhoods. Angela Torres, A teacher in a Dallas elementary school puts it simply, "I used to know the parents. We had relationship. Now I have new faces every year. Families who know they'll be moving when their lease ends." How do you build a community when nobody has roots anymore? Number 3, the maintenance mirage. Sacramento, California, Denver, Colorado, Portland, Oregon. In these cities and dozens more, a pattern is emerging in corporate-owned rental homes. Pristine exteriors maintained by contracted landscapers, fresh paint on the front door, manicured lawns that scream, "Everything is fine here." But step inside and you'll find the ugly truth about institutional landlords. Internal maintenance records leaked from invitation homes reveal the strategy. External appearance preservation is priority 1. Interior issues classified as non-essential may be deferred indefinitely. Translation: keep the outside looking good for the neighbors and investors, but minimize spending on the actual living conditions of tenants. Former maintenance coordinator Jason Rivera confirms, "We had strict budgets. Exterior paint, always approved. Broken HVAC in summer, that's a scheduled replacement that could take weeks." The photos for investors never showed the black mold or failing plumbing. The numbers are damning. Corporate landlords spend 37% less on interior maintenance per square foot than individual property owners. Tenant surveys show 58% of corporate-owned property residents waited more than 2 weeks for emergency repairs, compared to 24% for independently owned rentals. The business model is clear. Extract maximum rent while investing minimum resources in the actual homes people live in. Maria Gonzalez in Sacramento paid $2,300 monthly for a house with persistent plumbing issues that went unaddressed for 11 months. Her children developed respiratory problems from mold exposure. When she complained publicly, she received a notice of non-renewal. This isn't a housing market. It's a hostage situation. Number 2, the price manipulation machine. Minneapolis, Minnesota. A cold January morning in 2024. Local realtor Sophia Johnson receives multiple listing alerts for 17 properties, all hitting the market simultaneously in the same zip code. All owned by Invitation Homes, all priced 12% above comparable recent sales. This wasn't a coincidence. It was price manipulation on a neighborhood scale. When you control enough inventory in a specific area, you don't have to follow market trends. You can create them. Former Blackstone pricing analyst Thomas Chen explains, "We had threshold targets. Once we owned 8% of single-family homes in a zip code, we could begin strategic pricing. At 15%, we could effectively set the market." The strategy is brilliant and terrifying. Release properties in coordinated waves at progressively higher prices. Use your own sales as comparable for future listings. Create artificial price momentum that ripples through the entire local market. Analysis of housing markets where corporate ownership exceeds 15% shows price acceleration 23% faster than statistically similar neighborhoods with diverse ownership. In Minneapolis's 85423 zip code, home values increased 31% in the 18 months after Invitation Homes crossed the 12% ownership threshold. For institutional investors, this isn't market manipulation. It's portfolio optimization. For families trying to buy their first home, it's a rigged game they can never win. The most insidious part? When prices rise faster than incomes, more families are forced into renting, from the very companies driving up the prices. It's not just predatory. It's a perfectly designed feedback loop that converts homeownership dreams into permanent rental revenue. Number 1, the future neighborhood. Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Boise, Idaho. The next frontiers in the corporate housing takeover. Markets where Blackstone and other institutional investors are rapidly expanding their presence, following the same playbook that transformed Phoenix and Atlanta. But they're not just continuing the same strategy. They're evolving, adapting, becoming more sophisticated in their approach to neighborhood acquisition. Internal strategy documents reveal the next phase: total community integration. Beyond just owning homes, corporate landlords are now purchasing commercial properties, funding homeowners associations, and even investing in local government bonds. The goal isn't just to own housing, it's to control entire communities from the ground up. Former Blackstone executive Rachel Miller, speaking anonymously, confirms, "The single-family strategy was just phase 1. The ultimate vision is what we called fully integrated community management, controlling every aspect of the places people live, from housing to shopping to recreation to governance. The pilot program is already underway in 3 communities. In North Austin, corporate entities connected to Blackstone now own 22% of single-family homes, 37% of commercial real estate, and hold the contracts for municipal services, including water management and road maintenance. This isn't conspiracy theory. It's corporate strategy, documented in investor presentations and quarterly reports. The American neighborhood isn't just being purchased, it's being completely reimagined as a corporate product. Imagine a future where your landlord also owns the grocery store where you shop, the park where your children play, and holds the debt for your local government, where every aspect of community life is optimized not for human flourishing, but for shareholder returns. That future isn't coming. In some places, it's already here. But here's what Blackstone doesn't want you to know. Across the country, people are fighting back. Community land trusts in Philadelphia have blocked corporate purchases of 200 homes. Minneapolis passed ordinances requiring disclosure of corporate ownership. Austin created a first-time homebuyer fund specifically to compete with institutional investors. These aren't just symbolic victories. They're proving that when communities understand what's happening, they can protect themselves. The corporate acquisition machine relies on silence, on operating in the shadows, on completing its work before anyone notices what's happening. The most powerful weapon against them? Information, transparency, community awareness of exactly how they operate and where they're targeting next. This isn't just about housing economics or investment trends. It's about your community, your family's future, your ability to build wealth and stability in the place you call home. When corporate landlords buy a neighborhood, property taxes eventually rise for everyone. School funding becomes more precarious. Local businesses struggle as renters spend less in the community than homeowners. The effects ripple outward, transforming not just who owns the houses, but the entire social and economic fabric of American communities. Your 401k you're contributing to probably has Blackstone funds. You're literally funding your own displacement, and the government, they're helping. The Federal Reserve's policies keeping interest rates low for years gave Blackstone cheap money to buy America. While you struggled to qualify for one mortgage, they were getting billions at near zero rates. When COVID hit, who got bailouts? Not homeowners facing foreclosure, not renters facing eviction, but Blackstone's commercial properties got federal aid. Your tax dollars protecting their empire while you worried about making rent. This isn't a market. It's a monopoly. This isn't capitalism. It's corporate feudalism. You're not a citizen anymore. You're a tenant in Blackstone's America. The American dream hasn't disappeared. It's been acquired, reorganized, monetized, and unless we understand exactly what's happening, it will be permanently out of reach for an entire generation. So what can you do? First, share this video. Not for my channel metrics, but because your friends, your family, your neighbors need to understand what's happening in their communities before it's too late. Second, check your local property records. They're public. See how many homes in your zip code are owned by LLCs or corporate entities. Knowledge is the first step toward protection. Third, engage with local government. Corporate landlords thrive in communities where citizens aren't paying attention. Attend council meetings, ask questions about rental property regulations, support candidates who prioritize home ownership over investor profits. Is anything happening in your neighborhood? Corporate buyers outbidding families, investors turning homes into rentals? Comment below. Share your story. Because your story matters, your dream matters, and maybe, just maybe, if enough of us speak up, we can take back what was always supposed to be ours, the American dream. Before it's too late, before Blackstone owns everything, before you're just another tenant in what used to be your country. This is House Artifacts, bringing you the truth about the forces reshaping America, one neighborhood at a time.